Okay, hello everyone. Today I'm going to do a full production breakdown of my track Voyage. I'm going to go through the plugins I used, the mixing, the mastering, the effects, the arrangement, and the MIDI, and all sorts of things. And this is my first time doing a video like this, so if you do have any questions or queries or suggestions or just general abuse, feel free to leave it in the comments. And if you like it, if you like this, if you want more of this, feel free to subscribe, because I'm going to basically break down my catalog of music one by one with this method, and in the hope that some people might learn something from it, some people might be inspired. I'm definitely more of a long form content type of guy, I think, than a viral short clip person, so I'd rather put my energy and attention towards this in the hope that it helps a few of you out. What's else left to say? Not much really. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is a little clip from the song. Not bad, not bad. Okay, so let's get super basic here. Starting with the kick drum. Super basic pattern. This is literally a drum synth. Decay a bit down. The heavy kick preset. Sorry about that. It's practically an 808. But you can tune it. So this key's in A flat. You'll notice I've put the kick on the A flat note so that it's tuned, and if you don't tune your kicks, I'd recommend you start doing it. Very important. It's just really good for the mix and for sub phasing and all that kind of thing, which you don't want, but you cannot necessarily hear. Toms added here are just, standard Logic built-in synth toms with a bit of channel EQ to bring out this upper octave here of harmonics, because that's what I really want from it. So if you hear them together, so that's the basic drive. Then again, Logic's drum synth. Human clap. There's a bunch of settings and they all sound like 909s and 808s. And so if you're a classic house music guy like me, the Logic stock drum synth is pretty sweet. And I do what I usually do here, which is I'll layer some more claps in. So if I open up the mixer here, you'll see the two solo tracks are right and left, hard right, hard left. So I'll add two extra claps either side to give it a stereo effect. That's the one on the right. That's the one on the left. That's them together. And then with the main clap added. And the only other thing I've done on top of that is add this tambourine here. This nice little tambourine. So that's with everything, and then if I solo it, it's just basic EQ and something that I've thrown into Quick Sampler, just a tambourine sample. I've shortened the attack there just to make it crisper, and then there's a bit of sample delay on it too, which just creates this stereo image. Like sample delay is when you delay the left and right channels by the sample, and so if one is shorter than the other, the left ear will hear it before the right ear, and it will create this stereo image. I'll show you what it's like when you crank it up. You can hear. So yeah, that's a kind of really easy way to get a wide sound. So yeah, all those claps together sound like this with the kicks. So then there's a shaker. It's actually this shaker. I use it on a lot of tracks. It's very organic, has a lot of cool uses that where you can hold it, you can get a lot of different tones out of it. And I added this LFO tool here, so if I solo the track, the LFO tool's cutting off the very first shake to create a different rhythm. If you turn it off and on, you hear the difference. Just straightforward. Yeah, these are actually, I have these two here. Just these drums. Not bad. And then I've got a cowbell being added. Cowbell. Very simple. This cowbell is got a bit of sample delay, a bit more extreme sample delay this time. And again, it's drum synth. the 80s cowbell preset on drum synth sounds exactly like the 909. So I use it a lot. I love it. You can vary the release, so use it as a melodic element. And again, it's always in tune with the track. You can hear that slight little extra percussion here. Super basic. Oops, I soloed the hats. So there's the hats. A little bit of reverb sand, just from Indigo Dust closed hats kit on Battery. I love Battery. Battery's sick. I think I've got the same rhythm in the rides. Yep. So they're layered over the top on the same rhythm. So let's hear it all together. We'll hear the drums first. Nice drums. Percussion. So this first ambient sound, just solo it, it is a Battery sound that I've found and then put a bunch of ozone limiter on. Not limiter, sorry, imager. Stereo imager. So it's spreading across the bands a bit more and more, and you get the readout here. Nice big wide sound. And the other thing I've got going in this ambient section here is Silent, a classic sound. I'm pretty sure I made this one from scratch, as I usually do with like the more simple synth sounds. You know, kind of building it from scratch, you end up with something that's truly yours rather than going from a preset. I feel like with the key sounds, the more important sounds in the track, I really try to start them from scratch if I can, which I've been doing it for 10 years, so the synthesis part of it is pretty straightforward, and it's sometimes quicker for me to make something than it is to browse a bunch of presets. But yeah, this one's just a classic saw wave that I've made a filter cutoff with. That's playing pretty much the whole track, I think. Yeah, more or less, yeah. So far, a lot of that has been drum synth and battery and quick sampler. And we're just starting to get into the synths now. The general mixing in the key parts of like the kicks and the snares, all the stuff that's like purple and blue here, I always keep either right on the edges or right in the center, because kicks and claps for me should go right down the middle, and then it's not till I get to the percussion section here where you start to see a little bit of panning, a little more sound design. But my ethos with sound design is, if it sounds great, don't mess with it. Find its place in the mix. But if you can avoid compressing it, great. Maybe compress some of the more important elements if you want them to pop. But I find less is more, and I'll do a bit more on the master with the glue. Okay, so let's bring in the bass. Nothing that spectacular going on here. It's a Monarch Boss preset. I do like that one. It just opens up really, really well. Used it a bunch. You do it's quite versatile, but I've just done a little bit of EQing here, and then it's going to a bus, because sometimes I blend these basses. This happens just to be one, but quite a lot of the time I'm bussing a few different basses together. That's just got some basic sidechain from the kick. Yeah, that's pretty much all of it for the bass. I guess you can move on to the vocals. If I solo it, it's basically just I have to move over here because it's. So there's 3 harmony parts, and then there's this weird screaming sort of. Not even in tune. Oh dear. It's just so in the background you can't even hear it. Then I've combined that with these 3 harmony parts. And I'm doing some tuning with Isotope, and then I've got them going through. I'll solo one of these so you can hear it. JJP vocals, which I love, use it on everything. Basically, you can control the low end, the high end, the de-essering amount, the compressor. You can give it reverb space, and then this magic slider is really great because you can really increase the breathiness if you want. Like. Which, for leads, I do, and then for the harmonies, I bring down so that they're not all. The overall mix doesn't come too breathy. I do like a breathy mix, but there's a limit, So this is all the vocals together. There's not really much processing going on besides that, except I've got some round on the harmony bus. It's just reverb. I guess I can do the before and after. Very dry without it. And the reason I've got the round there and then the Pro C afterwards is because I want that reverb tail to be sidechained as well. So everything that you've heard so far combined, you'll see like on the actual buses here, I can group them. So I actually, this is a drum stack with all the drums. This is all the percussion. They're all like mixing into these macro group buses. And so you can easily show what you've done so far by just clicking these 3 things. And the bass, sorry. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's everything except the synths, like the main chords and synths. Where this is this blue area here. It makes sense to turn off automation. So firstly, we got this little piano hook. Sorry about that. That is just contact, and it's got a little bit of delay on the send. Quick thing, I show you all my sends here are organized this way, so they're already ready to go when I open any fresh project in a template. I have all the different delays that I'm going to want on sends on buses, so that I can keep the original mixing single as dry as possible, or unless it calls for it in the mix, as dry as possible, and keep so I have a few good reverbs and a few good delays, so I can keep the original track dry and do all the wet effects on buses. That way I can EQ them, EQ the bus to bring out low end and to stop mud and all sorts of other. You get little bonuses that comes from sending your wet rather than keeping it on the channel. At least I find it to be a really good way to keep my mixes nice and controlled. So that's the piano. Then I've got the main plucky synth, the main synth. That's just a Silent again. I think that's one I made. Pretty heavy compression, I think, is on this one. Or by my standards. that's pretty light compression. There's just a little bit. And then I've got some sends on it, so it's going to the delay that you can hear. If I turn it off, you hear a big difference when you turn it off. And then it's also going to the chorus bus, which I've got on a send, so it's got the original signal and the chorus signal layered together. If I crank it up, you can start to hear the effect. Down there, it's pretty good. Yeah, and then underneath, I've actually got the same thing layered, but with some chords. A nice, like, dirty sizzle on the drive there. Yeah, just a bit of H delay on that, and nothing spectacular, just a regular chord synth, and then you layer them together, they sound like this. And then I've got that massive, colossal, big, I'll start it here so you can hear it opening up, but this synth, oops, I'll play it with just the solo. You can see the MIDI here. So that is a massive X, yeah. If it wants to load, that'd be pretty sweet. If you could load, Mr. Thank you. I think I made this one too. It's pretty basic, just a big open saw wave, nothing crazy. I put some pumping LFO tool on it. Very housey, and a little bit of tremolo. So the tremolo here is automated. You'll see it move here. The depth. So it's not doing any left and right now, and then as you automate it moves. So it's very subtle. You'd probably only be able to hear that on headphones, to be honest. But it's a good little technique. I picked that one up from Disclosure on their streams. The very streams that inspired me to do this. I loved Disclosure streams in lockdown. Just very informational, but also very confirming for me, because we actually have very similar styles in the way we produce, and I admire them so much. One of my biggest influences, really. And to see how like our production approaches were very similar, same software, like same bus group mixing, and I still learned so much by watching theirs. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing this. Hopefully I can maybe share something that you haven't seen before in the same way and pass it on. But yeah, so this synth is, yeah, we covered that. And it builds and builds, and then it's, the huge part of the final drop. And I've just got a few little small things. I've got this little audio file. I think this audio file is bounced down from Omnisphere. And that actually runs throughout the track. It's just an atmosphere, pretty low. Again, it's pumping with LFO tool, like a bit more extreme. What else have we got here? We've got Omnisphere, these little bells. Nothing spectacular, just... I think I've got that layered underneath with this Poly 6 here. Yeah, very simple sound, just got a nice little detune to it. So combined, they sound like this. And then really all that remains is just a bit of these reverse washes that I like to do. You can hear them here. So that's just created by a synth bouncing it down with a big tail and reversing it, or bouncing it down with the reverb and the delay printed on, and then reversing that same reverb and delay rhythmically and having it reverse, and then adding more delay to the end of it so it tails off. So both of these, there's actually two separate sounds going on here. One of them is this glass bell sound, and then the other one is this chord synth sound. I use that trick a lot. It's really good for transitions. It's just a really nice way to do things. So I'm going to open all these up again. Oops, there's nothing there. So you can see everything again. And yeah, I think that's it. I keep a few things on the actual group buses, so you can see here that the ones in capital letters that have the arrows on, they're the groups to which everything underneath falls into. So for example, here on my chord bus, I can do a lot of group processing of all of the chords, which sound, these are, or like here, it's a little bit more mellow. So I've got a bit of Pro Q. I've got the Pro Q, what do we call it? The dynamic EQ going. So it's sort of like compressing in the EQ, pushing it up in the key melodic areas. The solid bus, I think, is just grouping everything together. And then over here, I guess it's probably being activated a bit more. But yeah, so the chords themselves are mixed with that bit of solid bus, and then they've got their sidechain. A little bit less than the bass, but still being activated by the kick. And then I guess I put a limiter on because they were popping at one point, just as a safety. Oh, the other thing I haven't shown is this little flute here. It's really hard to know that it's there. It comes out there a bit more, I guess. Yeah, and so the chords have a bit of group processing on. I think the harmonies have the similar sort of treatment where there's a bit of EQing, a bit of realm added. Let me get to the harmony part here. That's with the realm. That's without. So bad. Nice bit of sidechain. And then again, like grouping with the bus. Nothing ever above 4, usually 2 to 4 in reduction. Vocals, I've done a similar thing. Actually, I haven't done anything at all. The bass, just a little bit of sidechain compression on that. The percussion bus, I've done just a little bit of satin. I picked this trick up from Disclosure 2, just a little bit of satin or a little bit of like extra sizzle on the percussion bus goes a long way. You can hear the difference, I think. Well, you can, but that's without. That's with it. It's a clear difference. There's like 10% drive and maybe a dB, just less than a dB of presence on the clean tube setting. It's like expands the crispiness and the goodness of those sounds. Yeah, the only other thing is to go through my mastering channel, I guess. Open all these up. So you can do them one by one. The way I do my mastering is I stagger the limiting across a few different limiters, all from different manufacturers. So this one, AOM invisible limiter, I use on the end. I've got Isotope, and then I've got FabFilter Pro L2, and then in the middle of it I sneak in the Oxford Inflator. So there's a lot of volume increasing going, but a small amount on each of these plugins. So I'll show you what that looks like. I will loop this bit. And I'll turn them all off and turn them all back on again so you can hear the difference. Okay, so the first thing is SSL bus compressor. Sorry, master compressor. And it's never peaking over 4. It's kind of usually around the 2, between the 2 and the 3 compression is where I really think the sweet spot is this, where it's not taking away too much fidelity, but it's giving it that warmth and character that people use this plugin for, like that SSL master bus warmth that everybody loves. Yeah, there's a mastering preset in here, I think it is, that's got really good recovery settings, this one. So I kind of use that as a baseline and then tweak it. But yeah, this is... And then that goes from there into this FabFilter. And really there you can see I'm only just like catching the peaks rather than using it to like do a lot of volume enhancement. I'm just... Because I'm running my master pretty hot in this, I use this first limiter to just catch things rather than do a lot of boosting. And then after that, I put it through another dB of increase, let's bring the threshold down on the isotope. limiter, I'll put it through some Oxford inflator. I still truly can't understand what an inflator's doing. I know I've read about it. I know it's more than just a limiter. It's doing all sorts of wild stuff. I've only recently just started having the confidence to like put it on my masters because I wasn't fully aware of I couldn't truly understand with my ear like what was happening until I used it a bunch, and then I'm like, okay, I can understand. I can hear the artifacts that it creates. The harmonic, not distortion, the harmonic. What's the term I'm looking for? Someone will provide that in the comments. It does a lot of harmonic content is what they say. Overall loudness enhancement is minimal but with significant harmonic content. So yeah, there's a few things going on, and you can adjust with the curve, but in the middle is quite nice. So I lean maybe 10 north towards the fatness side, but in some masters, but in this case not. And then the final master thing on the mastering strip is this AOM invisible limiter. Just gives it that final little boost, and whereas the Pro L is oversampling in 16 and is doing true peak limiting, this is just a one-to-one sample, or 1x sample, rather than oversampling, so that almost is like a glue, final gluing element in the same way this one is, and yeah, that's the difference. Anyway, I think I've gone on long enough. That's the breakdown, done and dusted. I hope you maybe learned something, or were just interested by seeing what the inside of one of my projects looks like. This is actually on the simple side. I'll go anywhere between 50 and 150, and this one's a little more, for my style, a little, I wouldn't say basic, but just a bit minimalist in terms of what's there. But sometimes, adding more tracks doesn't necessarily make the song better. It's just something, it's just, I toiled with that illusion for a long time as a young producer. Like, the more channels you have, the better producer you are, the better music it is. It's not true. Some of the greatest dance tracks are so simple. But yes, anyway, that's a tangent. There's nothing really more to go through. I'm going to do, like I said, more of these. As I release new music, I'll make sure to do the newest ones first, but then I'm going to go through and maybe do some of my old tracks. And I've been doing this 10 years, and 100 releases later, I feel like I may have some interesting stuff to share. So if you liked it, subscribe it, and leave me a comment or something like that. And I'll see you on the next one.